Awesome. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life TV show. This is a show from Ladies Power Launch. And if you'd like to be a part of our amazing community, I invite you to go over to growsmarter.harder.com/Facebook and just join us. There's only one barrier to entry. We do ask that you be the kind of person who is committed to supporting others. And if you feel like that's what you're here for, then we welcome you. Today, I have a very special guest. And as always, my guests are very special, but Cristal's probably one of our guests that we've never had on the show before. And today we're going to be talking about leadership and how a new paradigm of leadership is what's going to take our businesses to the next level and beyond. In fact, not just our businesses, but guys, our lives. It's going to be an amazing opportunity for us to have conversation about exactly how we can be leaders, even if you never even thought of yourself as a leader. If you thought of yourself as a person who always would shy away from leadership, we're going to be talking about why actually the thing that you're doing, the thing that you're passionate about is actually you being a leader, and why it's right now is a great time for you to step into that leadership. So, Cristal, I want to invite you. Will you please share with everybody just who you are and the wonderful things that you're doing in the world?
Hi, Dr. Divya. So good to be here today. A little bit about who I am. I've taken kind of a long journey to get here. I've done a lot of different careers in my life. And just 6 weeks ago, I left Europe after living 9 years overseas, working with the military as a mental health clinician. And the last 2 years of that, or last 3 years actually, I was program managing adolescent treatment program for the Air Force, and decided I wanted to move back to the US and start my own entrepreneurial journey and take those years of experience doing the different things that I've done and do some writing and life coaching and also continue with mental health counseling.
That's awesome. I am curious though, and I'm really sure that our audience is also very interested in learning a little bit about how you ended up on this journey, how you ended up deciding that working with adolescents in the mental health field was the field that you wanted to go into.
That's a funny question, because throughout most of my life, I didn't like teenagers, to be quite honest. I thought they were rude. I thought they
feel like you're not alone though, because
right?
I'm going to share with all of you guys. So, I have a preteen. He just turned 12. And I was already starting to notice Cristal, my little sweet lovey who would hug me at the drop of a hat, is slowly changing. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I thought they were mini monsters. Like, I don't want to have anything. And the little ones, oh, they were disgusting. Things ooze from them. And I really never thought I'd work with children and teenagers. And I had a conversation with someone years ago when I was doing a whole other transformation, leaving federal law enforcement. And this person said to me, your gift is going to be working with children and teens. And I thought, oh, can I give it back? Can I re-gift this gift? And, interestingly enough, I love them. The little ones, I love them. Even when things ooze, I still love them. They're so sweet and full of love. The teenagers I find them to be surprisingly not little monsters, but they are so interesting and fascinating. and fun. And, give me 10 naughty teenagers over 10 grown-ups to try to do something with any day. They're fun. And it happened naturally. I wasn't necessarily looking for this. When that person told me that, I didn't go out and search for, oh, I have to work with teens and children. It just happened naturally and continues to happen. And for 9 years, that was what I worked with, was teenagers and their families. So the last 3 years, I was doing the clinical supervision.
So what was that transition like, going from, working in the law enforcement field to working with the teenagers? What happened right there?
That was a huge shift, right? Yes, I was in the FBI. And I remember one day running.
I told you guys, we bring very interesting people to us. So I can't wait for you to hear this story.
Yeah. And I was in Miami, Florida. So hotbed of all kinds of stuff going on. And I went for my morning run. And it was confusing because, right, I had achieved this goal of being in the FBI, which I had wanted as a kid. It's like, and I had achieved it, and I had wonderful friends, and it was a great career path. And I was running one morning, and I remember this thought came into my head. It's like, my soul is dying. It sounds dramatic, I know, but it felt that way. And I had a few major life events happen at the same time. And I asked myself, if I die tomorrow, is this what I want? And changed everything. I went back to school to get a master's in social work. And I would say that law enforcement, for me personally, that law enforcement background has helped me with teens, because as much as I love teens, I love the teens I work with. They will lie to you. They will manipulate. And I just could not allow that to happen. And what I find with teens is, if they can't pull the wool over your eyes, it's almost like you learn street cred with them. It's like, oh, I can't fool her. So it really did help, I think, because I'm not touchy. I'm very kind, but I'm not touchy feely. I'm very to the point, and, I would call them out if they were trying to manipulate a situation. So it really seemed, even though it seems like they're two very separate fields, right? Law enforcement and social work, they melded together so incredibly for me.
Beautiful. I always knew that I needed a degree in law enforcement in order to really wrangle my kids. And now you've proven it. This is great insight for all of us, because very many of the people who are part of our audience, they have gone, the traditional route, or gone the route that they have thought that's definitely what they want. But perhaps the thought had been planted in their head by a well-meaning parent or society at large that this is the route that they want to go to. And then they arrive at a point in their lives where they feel like you felt, Cristal, like they're dying inside. And you mentioned this, and I know what that's like, because for those of you who've watched the show before, we've talked about me working for Big Pharma, me wanting to be the kind of physician who makes drugs and cures the world of something that ails it, and me sitting in my car and crying. Oh my goodness. And like you, Cristal, I'm not that in touch with emotions like crying and that sort of things. This is way outside of the box for me, and really thinking to myself that this is not what I want to do with my life, and making the transition to doing something that I feel is more beneficial for the world in a greater way. So your background is social work and law enforcement. In getting to work for the FBI, tell us a little bit of the background story of what does that really take?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I have to go way, way back to when I was a little girl. And I grew up in a very small town, and population 1,000. And I wanted to be a private detective. And so I did. I became a private detective. Well, I thought I did.
Did you like to read Nancy Drew stories as a kid?
Nancy Drew and Encyclopedia Brown and and truly all of those really macabre detective magazines they had back then. You know, I would read those. I would consume them. It was just so fascinating to me, the criminal mind and all of that. And so my best friend at the time and I, we decided we were going to be private detectives. So we made ourselves a detective case and we put in a magnifying glass and gloves and we went to the town marshal. And I think we thought we were big stuff, you know, and he made us little ID cards, took our picture, gave us a lesson in fingerprinting, you know, isn't that cute? And I think he was probably thinking, oh, these girls, but he took the time. He never made fun of us to our faces, but he made us feel like we were important. And anytime there was a crime in our town, we'd arrive on the scene, ask questions. And in our minds, we had solved every crime. No one was arrested, but we solved them. And so it created that desire for me growing up. And I think my mom thought, oh, good golly, would you do something a little less maybe dangerous? But so I was encouraged to go into accounting. You know, back when I grew up, I really didn't know about a lot of different careers. I knew that you could be a banker or a teacher or a bookkeeper or a hairdresser. You know, it was a small town, so I didn't know the thousands and thousands of careers that were out there. And I did go into accounting and got a CPA license, and it was drudgery. Sitting at a computer and looking at numbers and spreadsheets it wasn't fun for me. I thought I was going to lose my mind. And with the FBI, they require a 4-year degree of some sort. And at the time, they were really searching for accountants because with the accounting background, you can look for patterns, like with money laundering and different types of financial situations, which, you know, when people commit crime, a lot of times it's for money. And especially at the federal level and the embezzlement, it's hidden in all different ways. And so accounting background was helpful for that.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. It's also reminding us that there is no knowledge that's wasted, you know, and your enthusiasm for detecting patterns back when you were a kid, I'm sure that really, really supports the work that you do now with the adolescents that you work with. You are going to be one of our presenters on our upcoming Ladies Power Lunch Fall Summit. The theme of the summit, guys, you've heard it here first, is Ignite Your Leadership. And we've also put together an outstanding anthology of stories from all the leaders who are going to be presenting on our summit. And you are one of our authors, Cristal. Can you share with us a little bit about your ideas of leadership, how they have changed over time? Because I've read your chapter and I've seen the changes that you've made over time, and just help us to understand why we're all leaders and that we all need to embrace this new paradigm of leadership.
Right. It has changed, you know, early in my career, even especially with the FBI and different jobs that I've had since then. Leadership was about fostering internal competition. And I think maybe the mindset around that was, if we get everybody to compete with each other, people will continue to rise. And mistakes were dealt with by punishment and humiliation. And it doesn't feel good as an employee to have that. I find it personally to be a very toxic type of environment. And I've experienced that through many jobs throughout my career. And it was important for me when I became a leader to not do that, because what happens if people are punished for mistakes, and a business can say, you know, when we put this type of leadership in place that was very strict and punishment and humiliation, the mistakes went down. Look at our stats. You know, it shows that, you know, there was less waste. Just for instance, we're making widgets. There were less widgets wasted in the factory line. Well, that's not the case. They were just hidden. People hide their mistakes because no one wants to be shamed. It doesn't feel good and humiliated. So mistakes are hidden, and hidden mistakes can often come back later to haunt you. And I just didn't want that. And I have had leaders that were kind and encouraging and motivating. And those leaders that I had, there was fewer of those, I will be quite honest. I was more motivated to do really well because I don't know if I wanted to say I wanted to please that leader, but I wanted to be the best version of myself because they showed up in such a big way that I wanted to show up with my best self. And quite honestly, this younger generation, we talk a lot about millennials and younger, they don't tolerate it. I don't know if anyone's have ever had a millennial on their team or younger. It just doesn't work with them very well, that type of leadership style. And I even had an interview for a position of a supervisor, a clinical supervisor position once, where part of the interview was a team panel interview. They said, okay, your employee did A, B, C, and D. Now you reprimand that employee. And so we did a role play and they said, okay, that wasn't hard enough. That wasn't harsh enough. You weren't critical enough. You weren't harsh enough. You weren't mean enough, basically. And try it again. And that for me in that interview, I thought, oh, that's why none of us in this organization like our supervisors, because that's what they're trained to do. And you don't get the most out of people by squashing them.
That's so true. You really don't get the most out of people from squashing them at all. So tell us a little bit more about how you came to appreciate this new paradigm of leadership and what that looks like.
How I came to appreciate, I think I came to appreciate it by experiencing it on the other end, by being led by those two different leaders and realizing that I can excel and be the best version of myself when I am led by someone that leads through servant leadership. And then I definitely fostered that when I was a leader myself, and wanted, because I cared about the people on my team. I didn't want them to feel bad. I wanted them to rise to their highest potential.
What are some of the traits that this servant leader embodies, in your opinion?
Is someone who, I think, there's so many great quotes about it, but really someone who you're there to, and I felt like in my role, for instance, with as a clinical supervisor and program manager, was to make sure that my team had everything they needed. What questions do you have? What stumbling blocks are you having? What areas are you struggling with this program that maybe you don't understand? And I can help teach you, I can help mentor you and coach you and give you examples on how to improve that. And I feel like as a lot of it was teaching and guiding and coaching and encouraging. And also, with my team, we all lived overseas and working on military bases. And sometimes it can be isolating and scary and stressful. And really just being there for those moments when life became a struggle, whether it was a health diagnosis, an illness, or a death in the family, or I'm just really having a hard time right now. And just to be that support so that they had someone to just help support them so that they kind of to hold a container for the team, regardless of what we went together as a team, the struggles we went through together, or individually, to just help people maintain whatever health, emotional, mental, and physical health that they needed to perform at their optimal level. Rather than saying, you do this, you do that, it wasn't about, I'm bossing you around to do this, this, and this. So we're all in this together. So these are the areas where is your lane for you to excel and grow and do your job. And I'm not going to do it for you, but I'm certainly going to help guide you as you need it and then let you do your thing. Because then micromanaging isn't helpful either. You've got the skills. Here's whatever questions you need answered, and then you go run with it and do your thing. And then what areas are you needing support with, or what areas are difficult? Or is there someone, and this happened too, is there a bully in your work environment that you need help with? And that is something that I don't tolerate, is anyone on my team feeling that they were being bullied or mistreated, you know, and really helping guide them through whatever situation that may be, whether it's a parent yelling at them or because we were located in the schools, maybe it was a principal that was there was maybe a disconnect or a conflict, and helping to come in and help, you know, work through that conflict, whatever that may be, if that makes sense.
It all makes perfect sense. I've been actually taking notes while you have been explaining what it really takes to be this new kind of leader, no longer the dogmatic leader at the top, but this servant leadership that is actually going to help the people who are working with you to feel more supported, and to also be more productive. So I'm hearing from you that you want to make sure that your team, one, has everything that they need. And I feel that's really, really important, because I know sometimes with our team, I might not know exactly how to do the thing, but very often I'm willing to sit with team members to say, okay, let's figure out how to get all the pieces of the puzzle. I'm not going to put it together for them, but at least I'm making sure that they have what they need. So that makes perfect sense to me. You talk about giving examples for improvement, because it's not enough to just say, okay, that was wrong. You really, really do have to have a solution. You have to, or work together towards a solution. There has to be something there. You talk about teaching, guiding, encouraging. It's almost as though the leader isn't really so much a leader or a boss as she is a coach. The same sort of way that your coach would be guiding you is the same sort of way your boss or your leader, I think, would be guiding you. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying. Your number 4 item was being supportive, and then your 5th piece was being good at conflict resolution and rooting out bullies. I love those 5 steps. I think for anybody who is an entrepreneur, anybody who is building community, anybody who is trying to get her message out there into the world, that being able to get better at these 5 steps is going to really help to certainly get your income increased, help you to increase abundance, and also to help you get bigger reach, get out there to the people who need you most. We always, always, always want to find out if anybody has just one thing that they want to take away from today. What would the one thing that you want people to know about leadership? The one thing that maybe you notice people are not so great at. What's that one thing for you, Cristal?
Oh my goodness, that is such a good question. I think, oh gosh, there's so many. But
there's so many. I know it's a huge question, but just pick the one that's like jumping out at you right now.
I would say the hands off, because so many leaders want to go in and do it themselves or to micromanage, and to just have the faith that if you let guide your team and let them do it. And if they make a mistake, it's okay, because that's how we learn. But to not have the tendency to try to do everything or to micromanage or to take over, and to let them do things, even if it may be differently than what you would do if they're getting it done. That's really what matters.
I love that. A lot of the people who watch our show, they are entrepreneurs, they might be solopreneurs, they might have team in the sense of collaboration partners or joint venture partners, or team in terms of contractors who work with them, or virtual assistants, or that sort of thing. And I've been that solopreneur, so I know there is that tendency to, you know what, if I don't do it myself, it's not going to get done right. And so you want to kind of be in have that level of control over the
Mm-hmm.
process. And the truth is, like you're saying, Cristal, sometimes you can miss out on amazing new different ways of doing things if you are always the one driving the process. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that your reminder for us is to let go a little bit, step back, relinquish control. That's such a great reminder that I think every single one of us can use. I notice you have a beautiful book in your
Mm-hmm.
background, and I'd love for you to tell us just a little bit about what that
Mm-hmm.
book is about.
Thank you. Yes, this book, it's called Hope is a Butterfly If You Don't Squish the Caterpillar, is the first in a children's book series that I've recently written. And it's about a lot of things. It's got layers of meaning, and it's about overall transformation. That's one of the lessons. And because a caterpillar transforms into a butterfly, and transformation can be difficult. And we can squish the transformation before we ever start. And how often do we squish our own caterpillar, right? Like, I want to do this, but that self-limiting beliefs that pop up, and that we squish our own caterpillar. And then as we're going through the transformation, it is hard. Transformation and change is so hard. And but it's worth it at the end. But boy, in the middle of the process, trying to, get out of the chrysalis, cocoon chrysalis, it's not easy. And so that's one of the meanings about it. But it's got two dogs and a caterpillar and a butterfly, the main characters, and they learn about friendship and unconditional love and judgment. And yeah,
I am
about a lot
looking
of things.
forward so with great anticipation to getting my hands on that book because I know you've written it for kids, but guys, listen, the best things we ever learned, we learn in kindergarten. And this is a lesson that I feel like every single one of us can learn. Cristal, I know people have the opportunity to get to know you even more when they get their hands on our upcoming anthology, which will be released in October, called Ignite Your Leadership. And they'll also have a great opportunity to connect with you in a more personal way when they come to the Ladies Power Lunch Fall Summit, which is also entitled Ignite Your Leadership. So people look out for the tickets for that, because you can go to growsmarternotharder.com/ticket right now and get your ticket for Summit, and you'll get a free copy of Cristal's upcoming book, Ignite Your Leadership. But Cristal, people are wondering, how can they connect with you? If they want to reach out, what's the best way?
Go to my website. It's operationtransformationbooks.com. And you can subscribe to my newsletter. And there's also a link for you can send me a direct email if you like.
Beautiful. I love that you've included that link so that people can have a personal connection to you. The card that I drew for today's show is this card right here. And I feel like it's perfect for our conversation today, Seeing the True You. It's from the Sacred Rebels Guidebook by Alana Fairchild. And she says, sometimes we believe what others tell us we are, as though the self we see reflected back to us through their eyes is the truth. Yet, the accuracy of a reflection depends on the clarity of that which is doing the reflecting. This oracle has come to you because you have been putting rather too much faith in the reflections others have of you, to the point that you might not be honoring all that you are and all that you are becoming because you believe too little of yourself. So I think this card is for all of us who've shied away from this idea of being the leader, shied away from the idea that we are leaders at what we do and that we can all link arms and support each other in leadership. We're going to be talking a lot more about leadership and these sorts of topics over the next few weeks. So I hope you'll tune in for our next show. So glad that you're all able to join us here today, guys. And I'll see you on the next show. Bye, everyone.